welcome to Dog on the Plot. I'm Kerry, this is Dorie, and we're in the home garden this week, and I want to start sowing some more stuff. Now my winter sowings so far have been going reasonably well. So these are my broad beans that were sown on 9th of January, and they're looking pretty good. A little bit leggy, to be fair, but nice roots underneath, and they'll be ready to go out into the garden or onto the plot. Covered myself in soil there in not too long. Now I did make a mistake with these. I brought them out into the greenhouse because they were getting leggy in the warmth of the house, and I did not harden them off to do that. I just plonked them straight out here, and you can see there's some little dark patches on the leaves where they were caught by the cold, but they've come back strong, and I think they're going to be absolutely fine. Now the other thing that's come out into the greenhouse are my onion seedlings. Now this was the first lot. These were sown on the 26th of December. There is not much in there, as you can see, just a few Ailsa Craig really. But I think the issue here was old seed, and I have since learned that onion seed is like parsnip seed. You should really use it within the first year. So I think that was my issue there. So I did a resowing, and this one is Red Baron, and that was on the 26th of January, and I've had much better germination on those, and actually they look all right. I'm pretty happy with those. I'm waiting a little bit to prick those out because they're still just single shoots at the moment, and they need to have a few more leaves come out. But yeah, onions. And then in this one I have brassicas. So I've brought those out now. They are a little bit leggy, but they're okay. So I've got mustard dill at the front. They're not brassicas. Is dill a brassica? Is mustard a brassica? Mustard is a mustard. I have got cauliflower, which is a brassica, and cabbage in there. And then all of those at the end, definitely not a brassica, are lupins. And they've all come up really well, so pleased with those. So they're out in the cold greenhouse now. This is an unheated greenhouse, although I do have the function to heat it, but it's incredibly expensive, so I don't. But what I have just pricked out, and I'm going to leave out here now, is the Brussels sprouts. So there are tiny little seedlings at the moment. I've mentioned it before, very little luck with Brussels sprouts. So I've sown early. There's plenty of time to resow if needed. But yeah, fingers crossed for that. And that variety is Groninger. Now, obviously, I've still got seedlings in the house as well. So I've got my chilies and peppers and aubergines and Cape gooseberries, and they're all taking advantage of, well, not only the warmth of the house, but propagators and grow lights and being in my sunniest window as well. So they're all doing nicely. But today I want to start some new things, and actually some things that can withstand the cold of the greenhouse. And the first one is peas. Now, these are meteor peas. They're an early pea, and I've been soaking them for about 6 hours now, and I'm going to plant these. Now, I was going to plant them in my guttering, because you know I love planting my peas in guttering, but there actually aren't that many left of the meteor, and I think that's a lot of guttering for that amount of peas. So I'm actually going to do these in cells instead. Now, peas are pretty big seeds, so you don't really need to sieve your compost, but my sieve is here, so why not? Give me a little exercise. Okay. So I think I'm going to do 3 in each of these cells. I think that's probably ample. They're not the biggest of cells and they're not the deepest of cells, but I think this will be fine. So I'm just pushing them in. They're still quite firm because they haven't been soaked for an awfully long time. I have over soaked peas before, but these are still firm. So you can easily just push them down into the compost. Now, I have found out the hard way that mice really like peas, so I've got a cover for my tray here, and then that is going up on the floating shelf. Now I've got some peas left over, but I'm not going to waste these. I'm going to give them a wash because they got soil all over them. And then I'm going to sprout those for pea shoots. So I'm going to head inside and put those into my sprouting tower. And we do need to head inside anyway for the next seed, although it is something that we're going to be growing in the greenhouse. Now the next thing I want to show you is in here, and this is my Ranunculus corms. Now, if you've bought some Ranunculus corms and you haven't already sowed them, because you can autumn sow them, I'm spring sowing mine. Mine are saved, and whether they're saved or bought, they are going to look unpromising. They look like little dried, shrivel, teeny tiny dahlia tubers, but that's how they're supposed to look. That's perfectly fine. And what you do is you soak them, it plumps them right up, and then they're ready for planting. Now they are divas because they just don't want a soak like the peas. I just stuck them in some water for 4 or 5 hours. No, the Ranunculus want you to change the water every hour, and only for about 4 hours. So that's what I've been doing this morning. I've been soaking them, and on the hour I've been pouring out the water and putting in fresh water. And that's because the corms want apparently oxygenated water. So yeah, they're a little bit fussy, but once you've done that and planted them, they can go in a cold greenhouse and they'll be fine, and they'll just grow away through the spring, and then you can put them out after the last frost. So let's get these planted up. So I've got a seed tray with holes in the bottom, and I'm going to take each of my corms, and you do them claw down, okay? So it's like it's a tiny dahlia, and I'm just going to put them below the surface of the soil and firm soil just around the little stalk that's at the top. So they're just in this tray until they start shooting, and once they're up, they'll be transferred into their own little pots. Now, one of the things that you might find is that the claws get tangled together, but you can just gently pull them apart. There you go. Now, again, I've learnt from bitter experience that you do need to cover these because they are another mouse delicacy. So let's see if I can find more room on the floating shelf. Oh, Dorie. Now there are a couple more things that I want to sow in the greenhouse before we can go inside and get warm, and one of them is broad beans. Now obviously I've already got broad beans on the go. Those were the aqua dulce varieties. This one is crimson flowered and it's a slightly later broad bean. So I'm going to sow these now, and I'm going to keep them under cover in the greenhouse and then plant them out probably roughly at the same time that I plant these ones out as well. But they'll be my first lot of broad beans, followed by these ones. I've actually got other varieties of broad bean as well, so I'm going to have quite a few successions this year, I think. Now I do have another set of root trainers, but they're earmarked for something else. So what I'm going to use are toilet rolls. I've been collecting toilet rolls for quite a while, but I've got a little trick with the toilet rolls, because if you've ever done this before, sown seed in a toilet roll, what you'll notice is that they disintegrate really quite quickly, and these are quite robust ones. These are the who gives a crap ones, and they're a nice thick toilet roll, but even so they will disintegrate quite fast, because obviously you're watering the plants and this is only cardboard. So my trick is that you use a seed tray, and this one's quite good because it's already quite deep, and you pop your toilet rolls inside it. And the other advantage of this is not only that can you just pop them out and you've got the whole root and it will go into the ground easily even if this disintegrates. The other good thing about it is that it keeps it upright, because if you've ever done this in just a tray, let me show you. There we go. You try and stand them all up like this, and You can see what happens. They all fall over. And even if you like stuff them all in, yeah, it's never very good. But this I found makes a whole lot of difference. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to put a little bit of compost in the bottom of these so that the roots will form and they can easily be popped out. And then the toilet roll is going to go in the top and the compost in there, and my broad bean about 1.5 inches deep in there. There we go. Pretty happy with that. Now, it was my intention to germinate these in the cold greenhouse, but as I seem to have filled my floating shelf already, I am going to take these inside because they do need to be protected from rodents. Now, these will benefit from the temperature inside. It'll make them germinate a little bit faster, but I want to be on the ball this time, and as soon as they come up, I'm going to bring them out here because, yeah, that was the mistake I made with the leggy ones. I didn't bring them out quick enough, and I must remember to harden them off slightly before I do so as well. But yeah, so crimson flowered broad beans sown. Right, there's one more thing I want to sow in the greenhouse. Now, I mentioned this on my February sowing video, and if you haven't seen that, I shall link it at the end and in the description below. But it's carrots, and doing carrots in a bucket in the greenhouse. Never done it before, not sure if it will work. I've chosen Paris Market because it's a short, fast-growing carrot. And yeah, we'll just give it a go and see if it works, and then we'll know for next year. So I'm going to very lightly broadcast, in fact I'm going to put it in my palm first, onto the surface of this quite nice well sieved soil. There we go, that's probably too many already. Yeah, here she goes, pinching another lot in. There we go. So yeah, just a little bit of an experiment, this one. Let's just make sure the seed making contact with the surface of the soil. And I haven't, all the sowings that I've been doing in here, I haven't really watered because my compost is quite damp. So I'm hoping that it'll be enough. Maybe I'll give this one a little water. Right. And just a light covering of compost. And there we go, a little water. Because you don't want carrot seed to dry out. In fact, now that we've given it a little water, I might put some vermiculite on top as well. Right, I'm going to give it a little lid. There we go. To keep that moisture in and keep some warmth in. And then I'm just going to put that on the floor down here in the greenhouse. Right, I am starting to feel the cold now. It's 5.5 degrees in here and it's pretty dull, but we've still got a couple more seeds to sow, but we can sow those ones inside. Before I do head in though, I think I might just have a quick look around the garden and see if there's anything to harvest. Nice to be back in the house. Now my last two things to sow are sweet peas and cobaeascan. Yeah, I really should have figured out how you pronounce this. 1 second. Cobaeascandens. Yeah? Or cup and saucer vine, which I should have just gone with in the first place. Now, both of these have also been soaking. They didn't need special treatment like the ranunculus. They've just been in water. And I'm looking at these sweet peas now and thinking I soaked far too many. But there are worse problems to have. So the reason I didn't want to use my root trainer for the broad beans was because I was saving them for the sweet peas. Now the sweet peas in here are a mix. They are my saved seed, but also seed from various different packets. I just emptied them all out and mixed them all up because I've not got a colour scheme going or anything. My plan was to put 2 seeds per cell. But now I'm thinking I better put 3 and see where we go from there. Okay, so these I haven't nipped this year. In previous years, I have nicked the edge of the seed, but I've done the soak. I think that's probably enough. So I'm just going to put 3 in each. Go, and with the thick end of my chopstick, I'm just going to push down into the cell like that, and then cover over. Easy as that. Now, like the broad beans, these are going to start off inside just to give them a little bit of a head start. But as soon as they start popping up, they'll be off to the greenhouse. Right. Oh, it's heavy, that one. Now, the cup and saucer vine, these are strange little seeds. They're like little flat. They look a bit like the loofah seeds, actually, but the way in which you plant these is on their side, so kind of like we would with a broad bean. So it goes sideways down and about 1 inch deep, as per the instructions. As I say, this is the first time that I've ever grown these, but they do, in the pictures, look absolutely stunning. There we go, all done. Right, ideally these need 20 to 21 degrees for germination, but my propagator is still full and I've got the chilies on the heat mat. So I think, what do you want to do? Going to come on my lap? Oh, I think these are going to have to make do with the ambient temperature of the house. Hopefully they'll be all right. As I say, this is the first time that I've ever grown these. Now I need to find somewhere to put the rest of the sweet peas. I guess that's one of the disadvantages of soaking. Once they're soaked, you have to sow them. But oh well, we shall do that. Now, there are plenty of other things that I'm still sowing during February. And if you want to see some of those, then check out this video. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.